advertisers.
With us tonight live, the Assistant Cass County State's Attorney, quite a title, Ryan Younggren, also the prosecuting attorney in this case we just talked about. You saw my opening segment. What am I missing? Where am I wrong?
No, I mean, you're right. These are very painful cases. They're very difficult cases. You know, in any circumstance, legal blame be placed on the victim in this case? And I'd say the answer is no.
So how does Judge Corwin, in light of these sexual harassment allegations taking place, how does he stay on this case? I mean, is there a way to get him off via you choosing a judge? Can he recuse himself?
That, you know, honestly is not something that we really seek to do on cases. My knowledge of, you know, the stuff that's outside of this case is very limited, and so I don't really have any stake in that or any interest in it, and so I focus on the facts of this case and proving it to a jury, because of course the jury is who I have to speak to in a case like this, guilt or innocence.
You're a smart guy. Do you see the pattern? 13-year-old saying no, woman saying no to him?
And it's, you know, that's just impossible for me to comment on just because I don't know the facts of that situation.
Let's move on to this. Obviously, he says, look, the reason I'm going to take this down from 20 years to 5 years is due to a thing called manifest injustice. Please explain that for us.
Well, and you did a pretty good job of explaining, essentially, is it shocking to the conscience of a reasonable person to give a 20-year sentence in a case like this? And that is what we essentially, there's another piece to that under the statute, that he has to have also accepted responsibility or cooperated with law enforcement. And I think for my part of it, that was the biggest issue that I had, that I brought up during my sentencing argument.
But you talk about the consciousness of an observer. I think everybody out there, and I haven't seen the comments yet, but everyone's shocked that he only gave him 5 years, not the 20.
Yeah, and that's, you know, I've been doing this long enough to know that I don't always get my way in the courtroom, but I sure made the best pitch that I possibly could for the 20-year sentence, and that's how it came out.
So take us in the courtroom. You give your pitch, the jury comes back with a guilty verdict, and then the process for the judge to come up with this is what?
We then go through a pre-sentence investigation. He is spoken to by the probation and the parole department. They do an investigation into his background, into his life. They speak to him at length. They also do some tests, some psych exams and some other actuarial tests, we call them, and then they put a report together for the judge and for all the parties.
So, and I don't know how much you can do this, but Pat O'Day comes out and says, hey, the client's pre-sentence investigation showed Jones to be the lowest risk to reoffend he'd ever seen.
He was low, I have to say that. I mean, he's a 19-year-old guy. I'm real aware of the actuarial tests and what are in those, and, you know, if you have no priors and you're young, those couple of things can make a big difference, and he came back as a low to moderate risk. They always hedge on the high side, and so that was where he came back. He had no criminal history.
But I mean, does that then constitute this kind of sentence, just 5 years?
You know, isn't that a tough question? Because the crime itself is what I was basing my recommendation on. And when you look at the crime, you look at the facts, the witness's testimony in court, some of the things that you mentioned, and as I told the judge, this case is every parent's nightmare, and I still feel that way.
So when, again, attorney Pat O'Day goes out and says, the bruises mentioned in the trial testimony, were there really injuries, he's basically saying, and the juries just don't get it sometimes? Clearly, you were defending this victim. What would you say to that comment?
Well, I mean, you know, we as lawyers advocate for a position in the courtroom, and I feel that that's what was going on there, because really it was very clear from the facts in the case, from the way that the pediatrician testified, that those injuries were from this rape, from this sex assault, and that's just really undisputed.
So how does Pat O'Day sleep at night?
You know, that's everybody has a role in the system. Defense lawyers are very necessary for us to all do our jobs in the system and do it well. Certainly, I do what I do, and I'm very proud of it, and glad that I was standing up there making the argument I was making.
You're a good attorney. Anything I'm missing that should be brought to light?
No, I mean, I think, you know, again, focusing to me on, did he accept responsibility for this? And that was really what I had the biggest problem with, was that he repeatedly put this on her shoulders and said it was a consent situation, and that just absolutely wasn't the case. In fact, the jury couldn't have been more right in this case.
So in your opinion, did Judge Corwin, do you think he lowered this sentence just saying, hey, you know what, everyone deserves a second chance? I mean, he's even quoted as saying, hey, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You'll still be a young man. Make something of yourself. Do you think he was coming from a place of grace, or was he just being...
You know, second chances are important in the system, and it's just a matter of when do we give a second chance? Is it after 20 years? Is it after 5? You know, and I had told that to the judge. I said, I hope he gets it someday. Will it take 20 years? I don't know. None of us know in the system if it's going to take that long. But from what I had in front of me and what he had said to the probation department, to me it was pretty clear that he just didn't get it.
Now, you initially asked for 40 years in prison, said, hey, we're going to suspend 20 of those. So it was the 20 years you were essentially asking for.
Yeah,
correct?
right. I think the way we do it in North Dakota, the way we do it in Cass County is that we say 40 years first to serve 20 years, which is I did. So I had asked him to be sentenced to 20 years.
Obviously, clearly, I'm not an attorney. So one of the things I want to invite you to do tonight, we're going to keep Ryan around for our final segment. If you got some more legal questions or things you're going, hey, Chris, you missed this, I want to find this out from Ryan himself, please go to our website. You can text us, you can email us, we can bring this up, join our conversation. You can see the email address here, that phone number at the bottom, you can text us there, we get it right away. We're going to keep him around for the end. We'll ask those questions for him to him then. Stay with us. A new segment coming up. Is it politically correct or political crap? That's next.